Hey guys, what's up and welcome back to the channel. So a few weeks ago I posted a review of which smartwatch to buy in 2021. It showed some of my favourite smartwatches of this year and went into some detail about which brand or model might suit you best. So if you haven't watched that yet, then definitely check that out here. But there was a big caveat in that video for Android users, which was to wait for the release of Samsung's new Watch 4. So I pre-ordered one of these as soon as they were announced and it's finally here. So I wanted to give you guys my first impressions and also to bring you up to speed on what's changed since the previous Samsung watch. So let's get into it. What I've got here is the Galaxy Watch 4 Classic 46mm in black stainless steel, and I've got the Ridge Sport Band in black. This is the Bluetooth only option, which costs £369 or $245. If you're someone who likes their watch to have its own LTE or data connection, then that will add about $50 onto the starting price. Just also bear in mind that the LTE or 4G versions of the watch will require you to take out an extra data plan for your mobile network provider, which usually costs between $5 and $10 per month. Personally, that's not an expense I'm willing to stomach when I can just tether from my phone, so I always go Bluetooth only when I buy my smartwatches. Anyway, this classic model also comes in a 42mm version, which is a nice touch for people wanting a smaller design on their wrist. But more interestingly, there's also a much more modern and slightly cheaper aluminium model now called the Galaxy Watch 4, which starts at £249 or $300, and that comes in black, green, silver and also pink gold. There's also now a Galaxy Watch design studio on the Samsung website, which is a really welcome addition because Samsung's website is not always the easiest to navigate. So if you want to customize exactly how your watch looks, then that's a great option for you. Although personally, I actually got my watch directly from Amazon as it was a little bit easier to order. Overall, there just seems to be way more choice of bands and also colour options available versus the previous watches from the Samsung lineup, which is great, and Samsung seems to be moving more in the direction of Apple in this respect. So let's open up this box and see what's inside. It's interesting how it's essentially a really basic unboxing experience. You take the lid off the box and you're straight into it. No cover or sleeve or anything like you might get in a more expensive watch unboxing. And then inside the box you also get the magnetic charger, of course, which I think people have just come to expect now for smartwatches. Just super simple, clip straight on and no connectors you need to worry about. Very nice. But anyway, first impressions of the design of this watch are great. I'm going to stick my neck out here and say that apart from the Skagen hybrid watch, this is probably the best designed smartwatch I've seen so far. The design is just really clean and minimalist, and I just love that black stainless steel finish. It looks so slick. It's like Samsung took everything about luxury watches in terms of design and tried to take a more modern spin on it and put it into a smartwatch design. Or at least that's what I think they're trying to do. I absolutely love the feel of the buttons as well. They just click really nicely. And then of course you have the rotating bezel, which is just such a big win. It also doubles as an input method, but it's just super tactile and really addictive, to be honest. If you haven't used one of these before, you're going to absolutely love it. I think the most important thing to say about the aesthetic of the watch though is that it feels really understated. Some people won't like that because it's less of a statement piece, but I'm personally a fan of the anonymous aesthetic. It just means it can be worn in multiple different situations, whether that's in the office, walking the dog, or out for dinner. If anything, I actually think the Watch 4 looks a little cleaner on the wrist than the classic model that I have here. It's a bit more simplistic in terms of design, but either way, they both look comfortable on the wrist and not too bulky either. When it comes to the big updates from the previous model, the main news of course is the software. In case you weren't aware, Samsung's old watches ran on Tizen OS, which was their own proprietary OS platform. Now this was surprisingly actually quite a popular bit of software, which is kind of unusual for Samsung, but it did come with some big limitations around third-party software. It was also not as closely connected to Android as it could have been. Anyway, Samsung have now done away with Tizen and gone into partnership with Google again to launch what they're calling Wear OS. So for the Tizen fanboys, this is going to be a bit of a disappointment, but for most it will mean a more consistent experience between a phone and watch, as well as allowing a lot more access to third-party apps, making it more of a genuine competitor to the Apple Watch in terms of usability. The new Wear OS 3 platform basically works as a mashup of what used to be called Wear OS 2 and the old Tizen OS software that was used to run former Samsung watches. So far, swiping through menus feels pretty intuitive and everything seems to live where you would expect it to. Most notably though, this means that Watch 4 users will now be able to use the likes of Google Maps, as well as a whole host of other useful quality of life improvement apps that were never seemingly available on the Tizen versions of the watch. For now though, just getting Google Maps back alone and being able to download smartphone and smartwatch versions of the same app onto both devices is long overdue, and it's a big win that's worth celebrating. Apart from that, there's a few minor feature upgrades, for example BIA, which measures body composition through the water, fat and muscle in your body via electric signals. In fact, the watch can actually measure this over time, so you can track your metrics to try to get them into a healthier zone. This is actually a pretty cool feature, and it's something I've been waiting for. It's also supposed to be accurate to 98%, which is pretty cool. Samsung has also doubled down on internal storage from 8GB to 16GB, which will offer more room for apps and offline Spotify playlists supported in both generations. When it comes to battery life, Samsung are now saying the watch has multi-day battery, with an average duration of 40 hours or roughly 2 days depending on your use. As always with things like battery, only a long-term review will stress test this, but one disappointing thing to note is that the original Samsung watch had an average duration of 4 days, so the trend is not a great one, and I hope this is more to do with software optimization rather than anything to do with the hardware. I'm also still holding out hope that in time this will improve. Battery in the watch is one of the most important specifications from my perspective, so this really does need to hold up well against lots of use. The other big news is that the Watch 4 doesn't seem to be compatible with iPhones, unlike the Watch 3. So if you do have an iPhone and were hoping to get one, sorry, it looks like it's going to be an exclusive to Android phones from now on, with certain features specifically being exclusive to Galaxy devices, although it's not really clear what exactly those are yet. Aside from that, the watches have the same core sensors for the most part they did previously. They can take an ECG reading of your heart, will monitor your heart rate 24/7, use GPS for outdoors exercise tracking, with a new addition this time of blood pressure tracking as well. When it comes to the introduction of blood pressure monitoring, the feature itself is really quite cool, especially if this is something you need to track more frequently at home due to any health conditions. One thing to note about this though is that unfortunately, to set up the feature in the first place, you first have to calibrate it with a proper blood pressure monitor. So that's something to be aware of, because if you don't have access to a blood pressure monitor initially to calibrate the watch, then you won't be able to use the feature. Finally, let's also just cover the band of this watch quickly. So as I mentioned, I've got the Ridge Sport Band here, and I chose it because I thought it looked the best with the black stainless steel finish, and also probably the most multifunctional as well, versus something like leather, which is more of a dress band. One thing you'll notice about the new Samsung bands is that they actually butt up much more closely to the watch face than previous models, so less of a classic watch design in that respect and more of a modern look. Personally, I don't love that look and probably prefer how it was before, but that's just personal preference I guess. Aside from the band itself, it's actually quite comfortable on my wrist, which is great, but using this for exercise, you'll probably want to switch it out for one of the sport bands that has holes to help with sweat reduction and to allow your skin to breathe a bit more. These days, it seems like people keep a selection of bands hanging around for different occasions anyway, so just something to consider if you're looking to get one of these. So guys, in summary, I'm a big fan of this new watch. The new interface feels reasonably snappy and easy to use, and it's great that we're now getting more options for third-party apps. All in all, if you're an Android user and you're looking for a genuine all-round smartwatch, then the new Samsung Watch 4 is definitely worth checking out. If you're trying to decide between a Samsung watch and an Apple Watch, then the decision has now been made for you. It simply comes down to which ecosystem you're in or which one you prefer. To be honest, that's probably a good thing anyway, as the fluidity and optimization between the devices within the ecosystem you're in is going to be way cleaner. If you're looking for something else, then remember to check out my review of all the other top smartwatches from 2021, and I'm really keen to hear what you guys think as well, so let me know whether you're going to get one of these in the comments below and what you like and what you don't like about it. Anyway, that's it for now. Remember to subscribe and hit the notification bell if you haven't already, as it really helps me out. I hope you enjoyed the video, and I'll see you guys next time. you.